Welcome back. I'm glad you are still tuned on to Record Television and most especially watching with us Her Moment. This is your favorite channel show where we do meet with different females on this female platform to get inspired, educated, awakened, and very many. I am Asha Kulsum and the guest is Jeanette Bugembe Navvuga. Well, those of you who have just joined in, we are talking financial literacy, and she is the right person I chose for me and the viewers and the fans of the show and this exact page, that if we are to have growth, we have her and we are not choosing anyone else. Her story is quite an interesting one for each one of us to sit, listen in, and get a little for our growth. It's 2020. Very many people of us, we've had this hashtag omwavu akufa. I mean, why should we let omwavu akufa? I mean, let us make that omwavu akula akulane. Welcome back from that short commercial break. Her story still goes on. Well, Jeanette, before we went for that short break, we're still getting onto that core start of you building trust with, using someone's money to make your own money. That was quite interesting.
Okay, that is a very interesting principle, and personally, that is what I used. But of course, if somebody is going to trust you, this simply means that you have to do things differently. You have to make sure you deliver on time. You have to make sure that you give them the best service. You have to make sure that you are having them at heart. And the other thing that I will say is many young people want to start big. I believe in humble beginnings and eventually turning out to global success. When we talk about business, many young people want to achieve what the late Mulwana achieved in 27 years. You want to achieve it in 1 year. So when you don't seem like you are actually getting what it is that you want, you leave it, yeah? But like I've mentioned, the 10,000 hour rule applies. You are going to become successful in business if you give it time, if you develop trust, and knowing that nothing can stand in your way. Then I'll also love to say that there are so many people who are looking for young people with great ideas. I personally know some friends of mine who have got grants, who have got partnerships with different organizations. Why? Because they have ideas. I'll also give another example. You can make money out of your talent, yeah? You do not need money to do that. Right now, I do teach a lot, financial literacy. I teach people how they can manage their personal finances. But how about putting together the young people at your church and giving them a session on personal finances that you learned from the last seminar? And when people see value in that, tell them that, you know what, I actually do this at a small fee. If you feel my knowledge is valuable to you, why don't you invite your family? When people know that you actually do this and you do it well, you do not need money to do that. You can use your skill, you can use the social capital that you have. I'll give you another very good example. Many young people are out there complaining about the government, yet guess what? You have social capital. Your parents have free land, yeah? Why don't you do some farming on it? I'll give you a very good example. Our home is on approximately 2.5 acres. That is a lot of land to have as a compound. So why don't you plant something? As we speak right now, I take fresh passion fruit juice from 2.5 acres of land. I would be buying these passion fruits from the market. So you don't necessarily need lots of money. People think that for you to start up any sensible business, you need to have millions of money, you need to have borrowed from the bank. But I would like to advise you that you can start small and grow big, and always get on the way. Other people who are coming in to support you, let them find you when you have already done something. Don't always wait for the time to be right, the weather to be fine, for you to start up something, because every other day that goes by, you are losing an opportunity. So I believe that you do not necessarily need capital to start. You can do it.
Well, as many of us have always wanted to start businesses, business people have always come out to tell us, set a strategy. What strategy do you have? How would you best define what a strategy, and how can someone strategize in whatever fields they want to venture?
I think that's a very interesting question. And when I'm talking to people, I always talk about coming up with a strategy, getting down to make a plan, and finally taking action. And I mean massive action when you have been able to go through those two things. And I would love to say this, that we are seated in such a beautiful building, but this building was built 3 times. The first time it was built was in somebody's mind. Somebody thought about it. The second time it was built, it was on paper. An architect made a plan and drew it on paper. The third time that this building was built is what we see today, and we are seated in it. And I always tell people that this building would not have been here hadn't it been built the first time. So even in business, what you're calling a strategy is what we call a business plan. Yeah? Many people have noticed in Uganda startup businesses without a plan. Someone sees a friend owning a boutique and they want to have one. You see people opening up grocery stores, and because everybody is opening up a grocery store, you open up one. So people don't have a strategy, they don't have a plan, they go out and take massive action without that too. So I think it's very, very important that even as we grow businesses, we rethink the way that we are doing things. If you don't have a plan, number one, you do not have a market. Why would you go out there and think of planting 50 acres, let's say, of tomatoes? You haven't even thought about. Why? Because every day that you pass by Kalere Market, you see tomatoes and they are ripe and they are nice to eat. So you think, okay, this is the best thing to do. You may not be considering the distance. You are farming in Kayunga. Already that is transport costs. You have not sat down to think through some of those costs. Some of us start businesses and we know very well that we are not going to be available. I am a banker by profession. It simply means I did a course in banking and finance. But knowing the banking profession, this is a very, very busy profession. So I think it would be very, very unfortunate for you to have such a busy job and you're running a business where you're not going to be available. So those are some of the little mistakes that people make when they are building businesses. So no wonder which business will live up to their first birthday. So some of these things can be mitigated, they can be worked on. That is why we are always talking about taking calculated risks. Some people take risks, yeah? Why? Because they are seeing this person doing this, because Janet spoke about this, because this is happening, because the government is saying now we are putting money in moringa, you also go and grow moringa. You know, you need to take calculated risks. But the voice that I want to pass on is, it is possible. And if you set out to go and look for people who have mastered their craft in this particular field, you will get them and they will teach you how.
And I think you should also take it down to developing that business. How should they even think about something? I mean, you talked about calculative businesses. I mean, how do I calculate this to the dot? Of course, now Janet has a boutique. Now I should have a boutique. I mean, how should they welcome even the competition? how would they develop that business so that it's, you know, they can get something out of it without thinking, okay, now I need survival or something?
Okay. I think in the first place, we need to understand what kind of business should I do. Um, because you're doing a business, it's not reason enough for me to do the business. And quite a number of people have asked me, Janet, what business can I do? And there's so much that you can do. And I'll just give you a few ideas before I go into how to develop. One, you can go into trade. Yeah. For me, I'm doing trade. And the only difference is I partnered with an already established system so that I could sell on their behalf. So I do not have to go into manufacturing. I don't have to go into, the logistics and packaging. But one thing I'll tell you about trade is the competition is very tight. You need to be up on your game. Okay. Right now, as we speak, there are opportunities in agribusiness. Personally, together with my husband, we do some farming, but not really big time business. But I can assure you there are so many people out there who are doing that and they're successful. I know of a lady and a gentleman who they do not only earn from what they get from their garden, but they earn from demonstrations. People go and visit. I found that an amazing idea. People go and visit, and every time somebody goes to visit, they pay 20,000 Ugandan shillings. So if you have 200 people coming through, you're making some extra income. You do not have to wait for all this produce or the crops to grow and what. People are making money in amazing ways. And I feel that is really world class. So that is agribusiness. Right now, as we speak, there is IT. People are developing applications every single day. I want you to imagine somebody thought about mobile money. What a brilliant idea. Yeah? Somebody just sat and put their mind to a test. Look at Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg started in his room. Look at where Facebook is today. I don't want to believe that Mark Zuckerberg had the money that Bill Gates had, but look at how successful he is today. Let's look at, there are different sectors you can do. Agribusiness, like I've mentioned, there's, IT, there's trading, there's oil and gas, there's so many things that you can do. You can go into the service industry. Yeah, there's a lot that we can do. I'll give you a very good example. The young lady who helps me at home, she makes her money from what she does at home. But at the same time, she makes samosas when I'm having guests, when I'm having some meetings at the office. I'm able to support her. Yeah, why? Because she has a lot of time while we are at work. So, did she have money like Sudhir? No, she didn't. But guess what? She's adding value to herself every other day. And the fact that she's realized that she has the social capital, in this case it's me, because I pay her up front. It's more like I'm facilitating her to grow her business. And by the way, there is a very big point in that. When people see you on the way, people will come in to support you. Yeah? I just want you to give it a try. There's so many things that you can do. The other thing that you can do, you can go into talent. Yeah? I want to believe that people like Chameleon, people like Baby Cool, I don't think they needed so much money. If you go back and follow their stories, you'll be amazed. People started out in the ghetto. Have you seen the cars they drive? Many guys in the corporate world are not driving those cars. What happened? They identified the talent and grew the talent. Where did they start from? Karaoke. Yeah? And then they started to grow, they started to build businesses, and look at where they are today. So in this case, you've got to find your passion. Find what it is that you can do. Are there people who can help you along the way? If they can, go and ask for advice, work around it, let your 10,000 hour rule work for you, give it time to grow. about development.
Before we get into development, I think we're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we do return, we still have her on the show.